everybody! Welcome back to Reaper Pro Tips with me, your host, and disembodied hands, Quindy, and her loyal servitors, Justin and John. You want to come up? And Kiki. A somewhat clumsy and somewhat sedated Kiki. So we had to start sedation last night to put on her vest today. Which I assume is just to give us an even keel of a Kiki. There we go. There we go. There's my good girl. Good girl. No. Yeah, there's my good girl. Her tail's just going. She's a good girl. Yeah, you a good girl? Off. Oh my gosh. Oh my god. Ear nibbles. Good girl, Keekers. Good girl. You did good. Yeah, you didn't eat mama. Yeah, good girl. Okay, Papa. This is more like the, I like to say this is more of the Kiki that we're going to get. No, ma'am. Back up. Come on. Yay, good girl. Oh, I've got the barricade. Oh, the barricade. Yep, the guy was smart, and I got the wire barricade today to keep her from going behind me. Hi, Attack of the Keeksters, yep. Quindy. She has her edge worn off, like the, I think it was trazodone we gave her, but I gave her last night, and it takes a while to work through the system, and so she's definitely like a notch down from Super Kiki today. No teeth. Hey, Declarman, hey, go, no teeth. Go, come on, let Mama work. Let Mama work, you silly goofus. I probably should go and make sure she actually has a chew, because I didn't see a chew out there, so I probably need to make sure there's a chew present. So give me just a second, folks, and then we will get the heck going. And Declarman with the resub for 45 insane months. Thank you so much. You know we appreciate you. All right, let me go and make sure the dog has something to entertain her that she's supposed to be chewing on. Hey, Papa, do you have a bully stick over here? Do you have a bully? You do have a bully. Here it is. Here's the chew. Oh, good. I'm so glad. I'm so glad there's a chew. A little bit more air, okay? No, you go settle. You go settle, baby girl. Yeah, you go settle. Ugh, I need to stretch too. My back's a little tweaky today, Quindy, so we may need a stretch break. Maybe a couple of them. Tweaky back. Tweaky back. Is there a quadriverse? There's about to be. When Declarman and his friends, his early sub friends, hit the, double. Whoa, that's too many. No, I have to say quadriversary. Quadra subversary? Yeah, that works. Hey, coffee. Good, Shadow Raven. Whee! So, yeah. Woof. All right. But yeah, that's a long time. Like, since he's got that little first before his name, that's a sign that he was an early adopter of the Reaper social media platform. Whoa! That was loud! That was the grating that I put to keep Kiki out of here. Falling over when I adjusted my shear paw. I was not very smart about that, huh? You're good. Go settle down. Sorry. I blew out my mic, huh? Oh, Pierogi Kid. Hi, nice to meet you. And also, I love your name because I love pierogies. Or at least I used to eat them a lot. All right. Sounded like lightning. It's like a gunshot. Everybody's awake. I'm sorry. I will actually move this after Kiki settles down and I don't have to worry about her going behind my desk anymore. I will move it. So sorry about that. Sorry about that, everybody. Sorry, everybody's ears. Now Kiki's very concerned though. She's like, "Hey, what was that, Mama? Hey, Keeker, I'm gonna lock you out. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm gonna move this over here. Yeah, we're gonna move this over here. We're gonna lock you out. Come on, let's go. Yeah, you just want to be snoodling around where I am. I know you're a good girl. Yeah, I know. Okay, good girl. Okay, yeah, good girl. You can settle down. You've got all your stuff. Sorry for dog disruption. Dog ruption. Totally dog ruption. gosh. Yeah, or you could probably trim it out. You could probably trim it out if you wanted to get Justin to edit it. Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah, sorry. Sorry, dog barricade. Everybody's got to get used to Anne's ridiculous dog craziness until Kiki gets older. Speaking of dog craziness, today is when she gets her heart monitor put on to test to make sure she doesn't have the arrhythmia that is common in our breed. And so far, all of her siblings, all of her litter mates are clear. All zeros, which is great. So this is the Keekster's turn. And that's why she's getting sedatives, because like we have to shave strips of fur behind her shoulders over her rib cage. And that's, with a full-strength Kiki, that's pretty much impossible. So yeah. So she'll get meds at noon on top of the med that she got last night, and then hopefully we will have a good experience and a fast halter application. And yeah. Alrighty. I am going to grab my skin tone. Let us, let's do the skin. If I can find all my skin. There's my skin tone. So we were using a mixture of tan skin and rosy shadow. I'm going to get up closer here. I can also, once we've got these highlights mixed for the skin, I can also apply them a little bit more to this. Oh, wow. Weird, Progy Kid. Yeah. Bummer. Yeah, it's Keekster sedative. Sounding good. See, that's what the vet felt, Shadow Raven. You understand, just from seeing her on stream, you understand how sedatives could be a good idea with my crazy dog. She, it's at least 24 hours, Korniko, but I'm going to leave it on for 48 because that's how long the battery power will last in it. Anywhere, I'll be happy with anywhere between 24 and 48. A longer window just gives you more of a chance to catch something because, even dogs who have a bad arrhythmia can have a good day. So we're trying not to miss anything. And it's impossible to, like, really cover all your bases. Like, there is one breeder who is super paranoid about it who does, 72 or 96 hours. But then you have to, like, take the card out of the holster, put a different card in, put a new battery in, restart everything. And I'm like, let's not do that. It's essentially a German Shepherd dog disease that transferred over to Shiloh's because the core of our beginning of our breed was German Shepherd dogs. So it's called German Shepherd dog inherited ventricular arrhythmia, or GSDIVA, as we just call it. And it is a potentially lethal arrhythmia, and it kills puppies, essentially, right around Kiki's age. So if you can imagine how heartbreaking that is, that's why we are we've made it public enemy #1 in our organization, and we're doing everything we can to track it down, which is why every puppy that gets born in our organization, every single Shiloh puppy gets this halter monitor done. Unless the owners are real dweebs about it. You can't force anybody to do it, but ideally you have complete litter data, because the problem is that it hides. And so if you don't test every puppy, you don't know if it's hiding in the puppies you didn't test. And if even you can have an entirely clear litter with one affected puppy, but what that tells you is that even those clear puppies, like half of them are probably actually affected and will actually pass it on. It's just, hiding for that. There's no cone of shame. Yeah. There's no cone of shame. No, divas are never a good thing. That's kind of how it rocks. And we won't do cone of shame. The halter monitor, essentially it's a vest. It's like a thunder shirt. If you guys have ever had a dog who stresses out during thunderstorms, the vest looks a lot like a thunder shirt, just not meant to be as snug. And some dogs calm down in it just like a thunder shirt, and some dogs don't. But then there's a little pocket. Essentially, you've got the electrodes on the dog, and then you've got the wires going up, and the wires are attached to the halter, and the halter is in a little pouch that velcros onto the vest. So that's why you need at least 2 people to do this, because you've got to shave the dog, but then somebody's got to be holding the halter once the electrodes are on, and while the electrodes are attached, and the other person has to get the dog to step into the vest so it can get secured around the leads while the halter is being held. And one person, especially with a wiggly puppy, no way. So Yeah, we try to be really responsible about it, Cornico, with this. I mean, there's another Shiloh Shepherd. There's two other Shiloh Shepherd registries, technically, or organizations, I should say. And they have varying policies on it, but we've really gone hardcore, and every puppy gets tested. Yeah, exactly. That's why we're going to do a vet tech appointment. I don't really need the vet for this, but I do need people to wrestle the dog. So, and that's why we're sedating her. It hopefully will make things much easier. So I'm gonna use my yellow off-white, my Osirian sand. You could use linen white. Linen white used to be my favorite color to lighten skin tones with. But lately it's Osirian sand. But any golden toned off-white, you could even use creamy ivory. That would be another good choice. Yeah, the size of a small. She is really the size of a small Shetland pony, isn't she? I mean, I'm sure she's gaining, like, I don't even want to. I did not think she would be 58 pounds at the vet the other day. I was like, holy, like, because her grandma is tiny, and the Wetterhound and Poodle are not big dogs behind her on the other side. But apparently she channeled her grandma Phelan, who's a 30-inch female and 115 pounds. Like, I don't want that. No, Kiki, you can't be that. That would. I'm curious to see if she becomes the biggest Shiloh I've ever owned, because all of my other dogs also they had like fairly recent outcross blood. And they weren't huge. Like Leo was the biggest, and he was between 28 and 29 inches at the shoulder, and he was 100 pounds. And technically, when he was at a good weight, he was 95. But he looked huge because of all the fur. All right, so I've got 2 drops of tan skin, 2 drops of rosy shadow. This will give me, I don't want anything as pink as this, but I also want something a little more lively and rosy than this, so I'm using a mixture here. And the reason I'm going with the shadow, and you'll see these are about the same shade, right? If you kind of squint at them, they look the same type of light and dark. And by the way, that's a good way to discover like something lighter, something darker. If you kind of squint your eyes a little bit and you can still see, and they look very similar, then you know that the shade is very similar. But both of these are actually on the kind of darker side for skin tones. That is intentional because I usually go dark with my skin tones and then work up. Yeah. Well, that's Shilohs. Like, and the downside is that there are people who buy Shilohs and then overfeed them because they want a 120 or 130 pound dog, and then they end up with a fat Shiloh. Yeah, actually, I would like to get her a backpack, Shadow Raven, because eventually the idea is to hike with her, and I would like her to carry her own water and snacks. So, yeah. I've always wanted to get a doggy backpack and actually have a dog that was able to do that. But yeah, so we're going to mix this up. Now, one thing I am going to do before I do other things is I'm going to mix up a blush color. So before we do highlights, we're going to do a color, and this essentially will be a shadow for the cheekbones, and it will also be a lip color. I tend to use them the same if I'm doing natural. Obviously, if you are doing somebody who's wearing makeup, then you're going to make the lips a much more dramatic color. But we're going to go for more naturalistic on Sophie, which is traditional. A color I really like to use for this is, let me find it, I haven't used it for a while, is deep red. This is actually one of my favorite blush builders and rosy builders. So there we go. So we just add like a couple brushfuls of your main mix and then shake up your red really well. And I tend to use darker reds because it gives me a more muted color. If you use a brighter red, you're going to get a much more candy-like pink. And that's good for younger people. So if you're doing a very youthful model, that can be very good. I like to go more mature with Sophie, so I'm just like going for more the standard darker red. You could use dragon red. That would be another good one. So I'm just going to put just a tiny drop. It's not even a full drop. I just kind of dabbed it. Whenever I don't need a full drop or I want to go slow, I'll either dab it onto my brush or I will just squeeze a little bit out and dab it onto the side of my palette like that. And that makes a beautiful dark rose color. Another advantage of using a darker red is, of course, that it does darken down the color. So if you're using it as shading for the cheek, under the cheekbones, like I am, this is a good thing. I'm going to put 1 drop of water into that. Now for lips, this may actually not be vibrant enough to really carry as a color. So one thing I could do is also do this for the lips, because the lips are so small. When you've got a tiny area like lips on these 28mm models, you really don't have a lot of room to convey color. So sometimes it's smart to just go brighter with the lips than you do with the blush, even if you're trying to convey the same color. So speaking of skin tones, on my Patreon, I mentioned that for my $10 level, I'm going to be doing a series on mixing anything. So the first one's going to be skin tones, mixing your own skin tones from just primaries and basic, like, pure pigment colors. And I'm all excited. I outlined it yesterday. So I'm going to do, like, kind of an intro to, and then the next month will be actually execution. So we'll split it into 2 videos. But I'm going to be doing a lot of that in the coming months. And I'll be talking about Reaper. There are various Reaper colors you can use, and also the chimeras, or even the scale colors. I'll try to, like, kind of talk across lines. All right, so that's a darker color. So yes, thank you for the it's 9002. It's just more 9002 and then just a bit of this. So it's kind of like progressively building on the 9002 Agent Marvel. But yeah, so it's going to be a lot about color mixing, and a lot about color mixing. So I haven't really gone hardcore into that on the Patreon, so I decided I would do it. I've got a little kind of academic bust, pirate girl bust, that I got out of a Kickstarter just as a bonus, and I'm going to just use that. She's got leather and hair and skin, so we can talk about all of that. So I'm going to use the dark color to get her lips, which I've already lined the mouth. But now I've got a little bit of darker color on her lips, which helps. Often with 28s, it's very difficult to highlight that lower lip. But you can try to do it if you want. I usually would save it for later in the process. Now, if I decide that that is still not bright enough, I can even go with a bit of deep red. Let me back up one so you can see the palette. I can put a little bit more of this in, so it's really dark, and I can build kind of a glaze or heavy wash consistency. So if I really feel like, no, I want a brighter red, a more saturated red, right? Then I can do this. I don't, you can also use Dragon Red, I mentioned, Agent Marvel, if you have bones instead. But I like deep red for this. It is my favorite color for this. So with this, if you want it to be pretty thin, but I'm just wanted, if you want a little bit darker and a little bit more vibrant, that'll make the mouth a little darker. And if you look at it, if you're a close-up and you're looking at it, you can still tell that it's a muted red. So yeah, we'll be doing a lot of mixing from nothing. So the first thing we could do is we could start with the kind of the color close to the skin tone, which is this peachy color. It's really pretty. It's a soft pink. Thing to remember, and you can see this on me or anybody you look at, but red color tends to be underneath the cheekbones. So like if you look up here, you notice that up here under my eye, I'm just like a paler skin color, right? But you can see the blush color more in this area. So it's like where the skin, where the cheekbone peaks, and then underneath that is what you're looking at is for the rosy color. So as I like figure out where I am, there I am. So like here, you can see the blush starting to come in, right? And then, but up here under the eye, it's still in the same skin color you get everywhere else. So you'd never put your blush like right up to the eye. The only time to do it is if your character is actively blushing. At that point, some people will get blush all the way up to their eyes. So if you're doing a cute little chibi who's blushing, then you can take that blush color up higher. I'm going to start with just this more subtle rosiness. I'm going to just block in a shadow. I'm not going to blend at this stage. I just want to get a shadow blocked in. And I want to get a little bit darker. So I'm going to put a little bit of that darker color in between. So I'm really just going right there on the under the cheekbone, creating that shadow right there, right? And then we'll just get the other side. The other side's more in shadow, so we won't see nearly as much over here. And another place that you will see pink is, and this is hard to do on 28s, but you can actually paint the nose just a little bit pink around the nostrils. It's probably not going to carry or show up, but sometimes I like to do it anyway. Sometimes it does actually, like the eye picks it up, even though it's really hard to see. You don't want to do the whole nose because you get that drunk look. So if your character's been drinking, then you can do a pink nose and it'll look great. Or like sometimes it looks good on dwarves or any model with a snow base. I'm going to get up real quick and stretch. It's windy because my back is a bit dicey today. So hold on. Hold that thought, everybody. Let's just put a little bottle underneath Sophie to give her a little bit of room to sit while I do a quick stretch. Quick stretch. Didn't want to cancel stream for it, but I definitely have a little twinge today. Very twingy. We're very twingy. Been doing a lot of stretches, just like the groin stretch and stuff, to help loosen it up. So take a moment to stretch, everybody, if you are in that mood and you haven't stretched for a while. I'm actually going to do a quick floor exercise. Do a quick stretch this way. And do a quick stretch the other way. There we go. Let's see if that helps. And then a quick stretch up top. There we go. All right. Yay, stretchies. A 30-minute stretch break. 30-second stretch break. Different characters are going to blush differently, right? So it's all in the character of the figure. But like I've seen, especially dwarven figures, both because, you know, the reputation as being good drinkers, and also many of them being done in like rocky snow bases and things like that, mountain bases. I've seen a lot of dwarves done with more rosy noses. And it definitely is a nice conveyor of character. Yeah, you know what? I think it's this chair. Pardon me while I grab a different chair. I am actually going to switch. Because, yeah, when I stretch and I feel okay, and then I sit down in this chair and I don't feel okay, that is a sign that it's time to switch chairs. So 1 second, everybody. I'm going to put aside this one. I have a chair with a back support pillow, so I'm going to bring that in. Always pay attention to your body, guys, when you're doing this hobby. Like, don't work through the pain. It's not a good idea. So I'm taller now. Oh yeah, interesting, Crowley. So we're gonna try this chair and see. So now I'm gonna take my skin color there. I'm gonna kind of test the consistency of it. I want it thin enough. Yeah, that's pretty good. I want it thin enough so that I can blend in these cheekbones a little. But on a 28, guys, and this is the key here, on a 28, you really don't need to blend very much. This is one of the dirty secrets of painting 28 millimeter, is that really on very small areas like faces for 28s, you do not need to blend. Like, because, especially if you keep your colors close. Like, if your colors are very different, then yeah, you're going to see blockiness, right? But if you're even like thinning a little and you keep your colors closer together, you really don't need to blend, because the fact that the area is so small is going to give you the illusion of having blends, even if you don't. If you want to sit there and try to do the blending thing, you certainly can. But don't think it's necessary. Ha 20 months on the crows. Nice, Crows and Bones. Thank you. Thank you for the resub. You elect the painful route? Yeah, see, I am not a fan of the painful route. Like, if I have to, I'll take my muscle relaxer, but I'd rather not have to, because I have to walk a Kiki. And I don't like having a muscle relaxer when I'm walking the Kiki. All right, so if my back continues to be kind of obnoxious today, I will maybe have to end a little early so that I can do something more extreme. The painful route of blending. I see. I mean, you can, and it'll look nice if you do. And if you are doing photography, if you're photographing your minis, then yeah, do it by all means. But it's really not necessary for a tabletop, or for any, even a good tabletop. Like, if you're not taking like high-res pictures to put up on the interwebs, and you're just trying to make it look good in person, or you're painting a gift for somebody, honestly. Yeah, I mean, it's a thing. I used to be really like conscientious about it, because also I loved to blend, and I still love to blend, but I've come to also recognize when it's a waste of energy. Because sometimes it just doesn't need to be painstakingly blended. And if you just thin your paints a little bit and keep your colors closer, you're going to get a blend. So, oh yeah, humidity, colder and hotter, good. Shadow Raven with the science, there we go. I'm going to grab my off-white, my Obsidian Sand. I'm going to build a highlight here now. So let's back up. I've moved a couple brushfuls of my skin color over here. So Kroniko, I indulged myself and I bought knitting things the other day on the Amazons. I bought myself, I've been eyeballing a knitting bag for like months. Since I started the hobby, I've been eyeballing it, and I'm like, no, you can't buy yourself a nice knitting bag until you make sure you're going to keep doing this hobby right. You need to try it and see if you really enjoy it. So I've been good all these months, and I decided I've committed enough. So I got myself a really nice purple of course, with multiple compartments, yarn holding compartments, tool holding compartments. so that I can take my knitting with me when I go places, if I really want to. I also have a smaller tapestry bag that's good in a pinch for tiny projects. Yeah, this one is supposed to be pretty pet-proof. It's got zipper closures and everything. It's nice. I don't have a cat, but I do have a Kiki, so. All right, so just to back out to show you guys, that's the difference between the colors. There's my start, and there's my, this color is a lot different, but I'm also thinning it a lot. You know, I've just learned Babatuk. The thing, I guess what really gets me, Babatuk, is that somewhere around like after my divorce, and I moved 3 times, and I had to downscale from a big house to a smaller rental house to a tiny apartment with David, right? So through all that, I had to get rid of a lot of my stuff. And I kind of got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I kind of enjoy not having quite as much stuff. And so for me, then it becomes easy to go, do I really need more stuff? So when I look at that, when I'm like, and it's kept me from buying a lot of yarn too. Like I really focused, I'm kind of doing what I advise new painters on a budget to do. And yarn is expensive, so this is applicable to knitters on a budget too. But I'm only buying yarn for the project I am actually about to work on. So the exception is I bought like a couple of just basic kind of bulky wools starting out just to practice the stitches and make swatches. But for painters, what I typically say is if you want to start slow and build your collection slowly and not blow a ton of money, start with like the Reaper starter set. And then every time you start a new project, like when you're choosing colors for it, just buy the few paints that you need. And when you do that, and as long as you're painting kind of varied projects, you will naturally build a collection. And you won't do it, it won't be super fast and it won't be super expensive. So eventually you'll have a lot of choices, but oh, yikes. That's pretty ugly, Kariniko. Bundle up. I also got the book she talked about in the Stitchin' Bitch. It's the actual name of the book, I swear. And she mentions an earlier book called Knitting in Plain English, and I picked that one up too, Kariniko. That was my second thing that I bought. Because I actually ran into a problem with the Stitchin' Bitch book, and that is tidying up ends. Like I couldn't visualize what she was trying to describe, so I decided to get the original book that she learned it from and see if that could help. Oh, you finished a scarf yesterday. Ooh, new crochet hooks. Yeah. I finally dove in because I had to buy a new knitting needle to do my new cowl. So I had to buy a bigger needle because it was supposed to, it's bulky yarn and stuff. And you know, I got to the point and I was like, you know what? I'm going to seriously commit to this hobby because I love it. Like it does really nice relaxing things to my brain when I sit down in the evening to just knit a few rows. Knit and Complain was the original title. Static Display, yeah. But yeah, so I finally went in on the not collection, the set of different sized knitting needles. Yeah, it's like they say one way you can do it is to just knit the first row always. And I could see that, but there's another way she tries to describe in that book, and I just am not getting, like, there's a gap between, like, so insert your needle as if you're doing a stitch, and then just keep knitting. It's like, but wait, what? Huh? I'm not sure what I'm supposed to be doing there. And she said she learned it from the Knitting in Plain English book, so I picked it up both because it sounded like a good book and because I thought, you know, maybe having a different way to describe it would help me. So yeah, so I'm totally using this knitting stuff to apply like back to my painting and vice versa. because it's fun to be new at something. I enjoy it. Okay, so I very much have a learner mentality. Like I love to learn new things, and so part of why I started the knitting, both because it was tongue in cheek. I turned 50 and I decided I would actually learn to knit. But the other part was that I thought it would help because when you're in a hobby for a long time, like this one, like I have been for decades, I've been doing miniature painting, and you're good at it. You know, you're at a level where the challenges are a lot harder, right? The challenges now are both a lot harder and more subtle because when you get to my level on this, where you can pretty much take a technique, look at it, and apply it, right? And it might take some thought if it's like lighting, but you can do it, right? You've got the skills to do it if you just keep at it. It is really valuable if you teach, as I do, to have that beginner mindset again in something. So starting knitting has it's both given me some like just kind of some tips and stuff that I can pass on because it's general art and creativity things. And also it gives me the experience of being a noob at something again. And when you teach, oh, okay. Yeah, going on to YouTube. Okay, I'll do that too, Kerniko, if her book doesn't help me. I am a book learner, although I will say YouTube is brilliant for knitting stuff. You're right. It actually helped me with my crocheting. I was having a lot more trouble. I find crocheting more difficult. Oh yeah, large aquariums would do it. I used to have several too. Oh, absolutely. Because mysteries, cozy mysteries based around a hobby are super popular right now, Turgeon. Like, it's a really popular thing. It has been for several years. All right, so pretty much highlights here are going across the forehead, which is very smooth, down the bridge of the nose. Let's get closer. Down the bridge of the nose. And if you can get the nostrils, you can try, but I haven't yet. The top of the cheekbone right up next to the eye. And depending on how many layers of highlighting you're going to do, you could make this highlight a little bigger and then save yet another highlight for the very top edge next to the eye, which is what I'm going to do. And do remember to carry your highlight up, right up next to that inner edge of the eye. A lot of people stop earlier than that, but you want it to come up right up to the side of the nose. And then the chin, obviously, is also sticking out, right? But one of the things I like to do is to also take a bit of this and bring it down to the top lip. And if your character is really smiling, then you may see that there's a crease there instead. But if your character has a more neutral face, then often the highlight will trip off the cheekbones and kind of run down beside the nose and hit that upper lip. Or the area above the upper lip, I should say. So the front of the face gets more highlight, like you can see there. And then a secondary highlight, since I'm not on my highest highlight yet, I will be applying a highlight along the jawline. Just to pick that up. I never put the highest highlight along the jawline, but a little bit is helpful because you're going to put a shadow, you've got a shadow underneath. And so putting that little highlight there helps the jawline stand out. Another little stretch there. Yeah, I really enjoyed my aquariums while I had them, but they were a lot of work to upkeep. So eventually I decided that although I enjoyed them, I would just go to big aquariums and enjoy the fish there. Now, one thing we should also remember are her hands. And knuckles are rosier than the hand typically, so I am actually going to put a little bit of pink on the fingers. And then when I'm going in to highlight, the little thumbs are so tiny that you're only really going to get a little highlight on them, but you can see how adding that pink definitely makes a difference. Definitely gives the skin tone more of a rosy, and it gives it a shadow. Gonna get a little bit of highlight on the first knuckle here. And again, you could actually paint these as like armor, her hands, but I liked how rounded it, and it gives me the opportunity to repeat the skin color or here at the waist and again at the hands, so it's not head, face, so it's not just up here. Another place that you do put rosy color is definitely the ears. Tetras, huh? Yeah. Yeah. I did saltwater, so yeah, I was using a lot of distilled water and adding salt and minerals and doing specific gravity and all that. It was a lot. It was a lot. But yeah, it was a pain in the butt to especially with salt water. You've got to clean and replace water fairly frequently to keep a healthy environment for your fish. So it was just a lot. And yeah, when I moved away from Madison, I just decided it was done. I was done with it. It was a fun experience, and it taught me some things about like oceanography and reef fish and stuff, which was cool. And of course, you don't have to walk fish. All right, so we've got kind of a nice, you can see kind of the variance in her skin tone. She's got a very fair skin tone, which is just Sophie for you. I'm going to do, I think, one more highlight color. So, although actually I've got to do the wings too. I've got to bring up just a little bit. I wanted to bring up a little bit toward the outer edges here. And I can choose to either just do a general glaze or to try to pick up some of the texture, but I'm kind of trying to de-emphasize the texture a little bit, so. My paint is thin enough that I can essentially just layer it. Just bringing it up a little bit. We could go, yeah, it can be super pricey, yeah. We could go a lot more dramatic on these wings, but kind of decided I didn't want to, so there's like a limit to my to how much love I'll put into wings, since it is my least favorite thing to paint. Like, I have to have a super cool idea to get really into painting wings. So for here, I'm just trying to make it look nice, balanced with the figure and not too distracting, and have a little bit of detail in there so that they aren't completely boring. Cichlids, wow. And discus. Oh, discus are hard to keep alive. That's funny, Cornico. You took really good care of those fishes. All right. Let's build another highlight. Let's put our little wings off to the side here. Yeah, yeah. Goldfish are highly aggressive. Yep, probably from shock. Yep. Yeah, fish are sensitive that way. They're just freaking sensitive. Yeah, and goldfish are aggressive. They never tell you that. Like, okay, some pet stores are good, and they will tell you that. And sometimes you tell people that, and they're like, "Oh, it'll be fine." You're like, "All right." Oh, yep, it is. You're right. It's easier to raise the pH. Yep. So that was why your discus stayed alive. That's great. Yeah, because I remember them being a super sensitive fish. Where they're really pretty, but hard to keep alive for most people. Another drop of Osirian sand and two brushfuls of this over, so I'm just taking it up just a little bit this time. Yeah, figuring out pH with salt water, you have to figure out your pH and adjust it, and your salt will somewhat adjust it, and then you've got additives you can use, and then your specific gravity has to be at a certain point, and things like that. It was an interesting hobby. It was an interesting hobby. Yeah, that's too bad, Shadow Raven. Yeah, well, there's some places like you have to buy distilled water, and then just add, if you're doing salt water, you can add stuff back in. Distilled water is not like ideal for freshwater fish, though. I don't think works for marine, because you are adding in so much extra stuff. Oh wow, nice. Yeah, I got mollies to breed because I had lionfish, so sailfin mollies were where it was at. Because they have babies like almost as fast as the guppies, but they're bigger. So I had a little food farm in my one tank to keep my lionfish going. And if you bred discus, then yeah, you were a queen. No wonder your fishies all liked you. So just to highlight toward the end of the nose now. And of course this is a brush control thing, right? So you do want to practice your brush control, and doing faces can be good practice for brush control. The biggest thing is, again, to remember to keep your brush at a very comfortable angle and go slow. Make sure your paint is thin enough that you have the time to go slow. If your paint is too thick, it won't come off the brush if you try to go slow. But if you have your paint thinned adequately, you will have time. All right, so with my new highlight, Just really, I just did right under the eyes. Actually, just do a little lined highlight there. A little bit up at the top of the forehead to focus the light. Got the chin. I won't be doing my space above the upper lip with this particular highlight. One thing I did forget to do was to do the eyelids. So I'm going to get just a little touch of highlight toward the center of those. Oh yeah, I see. So territorial, you have to make sure everybody gets picked on the same, right? If you have a lot of them, that helps. It's funny what we do to fishes, or to animals in general, right? Something that would be very territorial in the wild, and we figure out a way to make them coexist. So a little highlight on the eyelids to bring those out. A little touch of highlight here. And we've got pretty good skin tones, peeps. Let's do those. Let's fill in those eyes. Oh yeah, no kidding, Carnico. Plus buckets of water are heavy. All right, I'm gonna not go, I don't go usually with a pure white on eyes. If they're very small, then you can and should, like if they're Tom Meyer eyes from Dark Sword, definitely use pure white for your whites. But otherwise, I tend to go a little bit down, so I'm gonna actually use Cairn Stone. Cairn Stone is actually a really good eyeball color because it's a little bit grayed and it's a little bit yellow, and that's pretty much what color your eyes are. So we will mix up some Cairn Stone and we will do the whites of her eyes. And this is a good time to do that because if you're doing a larger figure, you can also use the blush and red colors that you've got here to kind of add those little touches of pink to the inner and outer part of your eye at the same time. And if you do mess up and you have to touch up your eye, you've got all your skin tones open. So doing this at the same time, pretty good. I used to wait till the end to do eyes. Sometimes I still wait till the end to do pupils on the eyes just because it's just like a finishing touch for me, but I'll at least fill in the whites. So 4 drops of Cairn and then 1 drop of water. Yep, we did the skin. There was lots of talk, but there's your skin tones. Haven't done like a lot of like skin. I probably should pick a model that has a lot of skin on it at some point and do that. I get my mixing brush to mix this up. Also, we're using the Winsor & Newton today. Winsor & Newton Series 7, size 0. Although for eyes, I'm probably going to switch down to a thinner, smaller brush for more control. Oh yeah. Oh no. Yeah, Ishtar liked to watch, my old cat liked to watch the fish. Because I had a wrasse and he would bounce when he swam, and that was the best cat TV ever as far as Ishtar was concerned. I definitely got lids on everything because of lionfish. I didn't want my cat to get stung, deciding to try to hit the big fishy with her paw. All right, let me see, what do I want? I want a tiny I want a thin brush. Maybe I'll use my Raphael. Maybe I'll use my, do I have a, oh, I have another Winsor Nune Series 7. I think this is a miniature though. Yeah, it is a miniature. Which is a very smaller, thicker brush. And if you wondered what I mean, this is for anybody who's new and doesn't understand. So here is a Series 7 miniature, size 1, and then this is a regular Series 7. And when you look at them, remember the miniature is on the right. You can see the difference. Miniature is shorter and more of a wedge shape, and the other is a standard round. So it's got a standard traditional round brush shape. So the miniature series does not mean miniature painting. It means that they are going to be shorter and wedgier, which is why I have a size 1, because you can see the size 1 is the same as the size 0 regular, as far as just like the general body of it. If you go too small with your miniature series, they get really useless really fast. Some people really like them. I'm not a fan of the miniatures. I seldom need that much paint in that short of a brush. Usually if I need a lot of paint, I'm looking more at larger brushes. I don't know why they call it that, Ancient Marvel, because it doesn't make a lot of sense for me for that either. Like miniature canvases. I mean, maybe because they're short and they go tiny really fast. I mean, you'd probably use the same brushes for miniature canvas painting as you did for our stuff, but yeah, I don't know. I haven't painted a miniature canvas. So who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. All right, eyeballs. We've got our Cairn Stone. Oh, it's what you had heard. Oh, maybe it's true then. All right, so I'm using my 000 Da Vinci. It's my smallest brush that I use. It's a Series 10, so it's a standard round, but it's long and thin. Got my eyes filled in dark, and I just want a stripe across the front, and my paint is not coming off of my brush, and that means that it is too thick. So I'm going to drop a drop of water in there. I'm going to mix it up and try it again. Now some paints don't thin as well. Like you'll lose a lot of the coverage. So, you know, experiment depending on your color. Now my color's coming off, but it is pretty dark. So I'm going to add actually a drop of white to my Cairn Stone. This is me tuning it. I need it a little brighter. Probably because the skin is so light. That's why the Cairn Stone was looking a little dark. So a drop of white in there. Mix it up again. That'll lighten it significantly because the pure white has a punch. Very much a punch. Maybe Shadow Raven. That's kind of cool if so. I just always like to point out to people that they're not for painting miniatures. So, because a lot of people make that mistake when they go. They're like, oh, look, a brush for miniature painting. But I don't find them quite as useful. So that's filled in, but it's a weird shape. It's very long. These eyes are very long and slanty. I'm going to grab my Rogue Shadow and do a little bit of adjustment on the liner around her eye. Yeah, right. The points do matter, though. The point is the most mattering part of the brush. But yes, absolutely, like, marketing is marketing, and Sometimes you wonder where a term came from. Right. It's just odd. All right, so I'm going to grab my rogue shadow. I'm going to thin it. And I'm going to see if I can adjust these eyes a little bit. And this is you guys getting to watch me like have the same problems you guys have when you paint eyeballs. But the key is just not to get disheartened and just to keep trying. And if you do get really frustrated, step away from the mini. So first I'm going to darken down a bit. Ah, too much. And to darken down a little bit the inner part of that eye. Yeah, cleanings can only go so far, Gibson, and sometimes I find that frequent cleanings can be too much for a brush, so don't think you have to clean your brush every time you use it. I only clean my brushes when it becomes evident that I've got paint buildup down in the ferrule, or my brush is otherwise like having an issue that could be related to something like that. There. Okay, so I darkened down a little bit of the inside of the eye. That makes it not quite as oblong. I like it a little better. More like Twitch says that your fictional dog, Pendrake, wants Man, I'm going to be happy when this Holter monitoring is done. It's going to be stressful. It says David leaves for skiing today. And I am alone to supervise the Keekster. Oh, too much. So sometimes tiny brushes can be difficult for this because the paint will dry on them in them faster. Even when I've added water, so I've got to be a little faster. Oh, a little bit of a dot on the hair there, so we'll just take some water. See if I can scrub it off. And if not, then I'm just going to cover it up. That's why I wear magnifiers, Richard. Without my glasses, I'm pretty much like done for. And I could use a much bigger brush. I mean, I can do eyeballs with my DaVinci 1, absolutely. But sometimes I like to switch it up, just to show you guys what's possible. Life-size mermaid tails. Impressive. Okay, there we go. We've got whites. And she is a bit too small to really put much of a red tint at either end of the eye. Most 28s you really can't. You can do it more with big pieces. I'm going to take the rogue shadow and really kind of get a hard line around her face, though. Well, it knows you have a kid, right, Agent Marvel? You must need Red Bull. So I'm going to put a line right up next to this side of her face because the hair's kind of in shadow there. And since she has red hair, Rogue Shadow is a good shadow for that, for the auburn, because it is a reddish liner. Hear Kiki playing with her toys. It must be getting close to time. So shadow, and I can also shadow on the other side, inside of the hair. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm just, my back is just not happy, Pendrake, so I may end a little early today. I need to stretch it and make sure that I can be in decent shape to take Keeks for her walk. There we go, so darken down the inside on that side as well. Now I've got a shadow around the face. That helps the face to stand out. And we're looking good. And just for fun, let us, oh, sorry, getting these guys out of the way. Why don't we put a highlight on the red hair? Where is my auburn shadow? Or actually, I use mahogany brown because that's what I tend to use for Sophie. Oh, mine is always like, I do yoga every morning to make it happy, Gibson, but sometimes it just gets tweaked and then it's like, what am I going to do? So probably Kiki gets a much shorter walk today so that I can give it a muscle relaxer and let it kind of settle down. You can usually tell, like usually it's just soreness with me, and so it'll warm up throughout the day, but today it's definitely, I did something to it this morning I didn't like, for sure. It's like grumbling at me. I need to unclog my hair color. Yeah, morning yoga really makes me able to function as a normal human being instead of one with a back that's older than I am. Hey, Papa, what's up? You playing? I hear your paws. Hi, Keeker. Hi. I'm almost done. I'm almost done. Oh, come on, mahogany brown. It's like, no, I don't want to. Yeah, that's good, Richard. Mine was just due to lifting 60-pound paint buckets for 15 years. All right, this paint is very cloggy. Quit being cloggy. There we go. So mahogany brown is really the color of Sophie's hair as far as Anne is concerned, as far as canon colors. It's a little more unnatural than the auburn shadow, but I mean, she's a succubus, which is, I always went with this color for that reason. This is the same. It's a match for the old color Aged Red Brick from Pro Paint. So if you always liked that kind of maroon brown color, that's what this is. Mahogany brown 9070. I still like it as a base for auburn. As I said, if you want it to be a touch more red. A little less natural, but a touch more red. Yeah, as it is, I only have to take my muscle relaxers every once in a while. And sometimes I'll have weeks go by without needing one, and sometimes it'll be like twice in a week. But I try to only reach for it when I have to. And I only take half of one. I like to still be able to like kind of feel where I am. Painkillers are always kind of a sus thing for me because I'm always feeling like if I can't feel the pain, I'll do something dumb. Like I'll push it, right? You know, I've never done professional massage. I'm not really, it's painful to me. My muscles tend to be really, really tight. And so I'm more like the don't touch me. I mean, maybe it would help, but I'm not into it. And I really hate the people who come up to you at cons and want to massage you and you don't really know them. Sorry if you're that person. Just for future reference, never offer. The answer is no. Papa, it's not time yet. She's like, your back is hurting, Mommy. You should end early. So I grabbed some rusted anchor, and I'm going to put some highlights on, despite my puppy being a dork right now. Oh, she's growling at herself in the mirror. I see. So Bridget never did mirror experiencing with these puppies. Like this is okay. So this is the difference it can make, guys, when you have a good breeder. A good breeder will expose the puppy to a whole bunch of things, right? And one of those things that they should expose the puppy to is mirrors. Kiki didn't get the mirror lesson. Bridget totally forgot it this time, and so she still barks at herself in mirrors. Any shiny surface, she's convinced it's another dog. She never got over it when she was a baby. So I've told Bridget we totally blame her. David absolutely blames her. Yeah, I'm okay if I know the person really well. And, you know, I know that that's their shtick, and so sometimes it's okay, but very, very, very rarely, and certainly not for anybody I don't know well. So rusted anchor is not much of a color change. You can see it there. And it's very close. Like if you look at them, you can see how close they are. So chances are your rusted anchor is just going to be kind of, it's going to look like you blend it, even though I used it full strength. When you're using colors, when you use a color that's this close to highlight or shade another one, you don't get much drama. You get a little tiny bit of color transition, and usually they just look like they're blending in. So you can work with that if you want to use a bunch of colors that are next to each other. Like you can slowly build highlights that way and not have to thin your paint. But just keep in mind, like they're, here, hold on. So you can see that it's a slightly different color here, but it's really not reading. So that means that, oh yeah, Korniko, exactly. Yeah, and that's like bad, because if you have actual back damage, like somebody who's not used to your back or familiar with your back or familiar with what you have going on, it's kind of dumb for them to try to grab you, in my opinion. I, of course, am not an expert. But yeah, I'm just like not into it. I'll manage it with my own stretching and everything. I'll sometimes have David massage my shoulders, and that's really nice, but like that's different. My back's just probably tight. That's funny, Richard. But yeah, so Kiki does like to bark at her mirror self. So yeah, so this is not really giving us any real highlights. So what we'll have to do is then when we work next time, we can still use rusted anchor, but we're going to have to add a little bit of something to it to make it work. Yeah, inversion tables just kind of like scare me. I would rather use yoga and gravity to work with things. Like, I know inversion is supposed to, like, it's a gravity thing, right? But mostly I just kind of try to strengthen myself and relax if I get a tweak like I did. I don't know what I did to myself either this morning that really made my back grumbly at me. But it's definitely grumbly. It's going to be one of those days. I'll have Kiki sedated and in a monitor, and me sedated and in bed. Lying down to make my back relax. It's funny. All right, so I just did another coat of the mahogany brown just to make sure we got a nice solid coat on the hair. It's that nice rich red color. I think the skin tones turned out very well. All right, thanks, Kodiak. Yep, we got face done. Face. Hey, and now we should pop the wings in real quick. See if I can get them in, because I want to see. Yay! Here we go, guys. What do you think? Starting to come alive, huh? And then the backs are looking pretty good as well. So once we have the hair in there, it'll be nice. I like that the wings just pop in. So yeah, that's all working really well together. We'll have a lot of NMM to do on this one. But yeah, the wings I think have just enough texture. You just don't want that little bit of texture so that they're not boring. A little bit of shading. It's funny that everybody loves the wings when it's like my least favorite part. It's funny. But yeah, so let's just halt it there then. I can't do much else since my first highlight didn't work out. So we'll talk more about picking highlights for red hair and auburn hair when we next tackle this model tomorrow for our Friday edition. It is Old Spice Genie again. We were just starting, if you recall, on the gold. We got that beautiful knee pad done last time. And now we were working on the monster face. So, yes, Old Spice Genie is who we are working on tomorrow. But yeah, quite different. Quite a different technique and tactics, right? We're doing a lot finer stuff on Sophie and a lot more broad, big stuff on Mr. Genie. Yes, Ragnar, they are. So yeah, there we go. So tomorrow, Genie Day, and maybe we'll do the sword, or maybe we'll keep working on the gold. I don't know. I'm having fun. I really like the knee pad. So happy. It's always good when I'm happy with something when we're working on it. So all right, guys, I am going to call it just a little bit early, just to get time to stretch my back before I take the Keekers away, Keekers for a walk, and then I have to wrestle her into the car and drag her to the vet. So. Thank you all for tuning in to the Painting Odyssey. Yes, Crafty Creative with Josh Foreman is later this afternoon, so do tune in and keep Josh company. And yeah, I hope you all have a lovely day, and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.